So today, we've got a special treat for people who don't know this or have never seen this guitar or don't know anything about this guitar brand.
His hat.
I said guitar brand. It would have worked if I didn't say guitar. And it's not in my hat.
Oh shit, it's not a guitar.
It's not a guitar. Wow, who would have thought? Damn. We're going to be talking about Strandberg. And Strandberg has come out with a lot of guitars over the last few years. They're a pretty boutique brand out in Sweden.
Yes, they're a Swedish brand. Started off by Ola Strandberg, the man, the engineer, the legend. Ola Strandberg.
Ola Strandberg. So, Ola Strandberg, wonderful guy. Designed a very unique, very interesting,
very innovative shape at the time. A few years ago.
I mean, I'd say it's still pretty innovative.
Still pretty innovative, but at the time, which was about 10-ish years ago, I think 10 years ago, because last year was the 10th anniversary, they basically brought back the whole headless trend.
Did they bring it back? Didn't it exist before then?
It did with Steinberger.
Oh, that's
which
right.
was definitely before our time. Mm-hmm. Way before our time.
But they did bring it back. And when they brought it back, everyone else brought it back. We got people like Aristides doing it now. We got Kiris. We got all these, not only custom brands, but even Ibanez has...
production brands. Ligator, Ibanez with their bass.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably soon with the guitar.
Yeah, so they've really pioneered this whole headless thing. I wouldn't say they pioneered it, but they're definitely like at the forefront of innovation when it comes to headless, ergonomic, nice feeling, nice looking, although kind of weird guitars.
Yeah, which I think the aesthetic of it really helped them get popularity compared to like the Steinberger, which was more of a square-ish, like rectangular shape, which was kind of a little awkward. I feel like I've never played one personally, but I feel it wouldn't really sit well. You'd have to kind of play it standing like a V. But with the Strandberg's body, it gives you few options, which is definitely beneficial for a lot of players, especially when players are in tight bedroom space, playing and recording. It really helps.
We would know a thing or two about tight bedroom space. Okay. Stop bullshitting. Stop fluffing up the video. We gotta get to it. Okay. So here's the bad boy.
So today we're gonna be talking about this bad boy. There we go. This boy. Absolutely killer. Some of you might notice they kind of messed up the frets here, so it's a little issue. It's a little squiggly, but you know what? It's right. We'll work with it. Yeah, it's Strandberg's new Bowden 7-string with true temperament frets.
So they have had this line for God knows how long, basically ever since they started.
This was the one that started off with.
Oh, okay, Bowden. There you go. So this is basically the thing that they sell and you see everywhere and probably have seen plenty of memes about. So for the basics, headless. Tuners are down there.
Down here, which actually with this model, they are anodized, blue anodized. The 6-string comes with orange hardware, orange finish, and the 8-string is purple, which looks really cool.
It does look really simple. So you got this weird choppy body. It looks like someone took a lot of bites out of it, just like all around.
Cookie Monster just ate this thing.
Especially in the bottom, because again, you got to fit these tuners. So the only way to fit the tuners in a way that's still ergonomic is just take a huge chunk out of this, or to do what Kiris and some other brands have done, even Harley Benton, where they leave the bottom part and then they keep the top part kind of routed in.
Yeah.
Which, I don't like the design.
Now, I feel like this definitely allows you to put your hand in here. Obviously, not having played those, I would imagine it kind of gets a little awkward putting your finger underneath the tuner there, especially if you have bigger hands. But this gives you the freedom of space here and you have nothing to worry about. And because these two edges here protrude much more than the tuners, your body will never rest on the tuners, no matter what position you're playing on, which is pretty handy. Luckily,
be careful where you're whipping.
Thank God this is headless, because I would have smacked him right there.
Yeah, no, you really would have. that was like literally like 2 inches away from me. So this comes with a standard volume, tone, 3-way switch, but it has
push-pull on both. So the first one changes the voicing, and the second one is a split.
I didn't even know it had it on both.
Yeah,
that's really cool, actually.
Yeah, actually, not gonna lie, I did not know that until a few days after I had mine.
If you don't know Fishman, They've taken their own approach to designing pickups. I'm not smart enough to know what they did. It definitely sounds way different from any other pickup you've really listened to, especially if you're a fan of music like from Animals as Leaders and a bunch of other people like that.
A lot of modern music.
Yeah. Very unique kind of sound you get from these. And 2 voices are like an active and passive setting. Mm-hmm. So very, very broad range. Even with the 3-way switch, you get a lot of voices, a lot of opportunity to sound good. Yeah. So don't fuck it up if you get this guitar.
Yeah. It'd be kind of hard.
They already fucked up the frets. Don't make it worse by fucking up the playing.
And on top of that, we have maple top on a swamp ash body, I'm pretty sure. I had to double check that.
I told you to look at the checks!
Oh, I know
that. I told you to look at the specs.
It's basswood body, huh?
It is basswood body. Don't listen to him. It's not swamp ash. It is basswood. And it is also sold out.
Yeah. Good luck.
Out of stock because apparently there's a lot of people who want messed up frets. And this is where you get to the second part that makes Strandberg very unique and actually irreplicable by any company because they've patented it and is their EndurNeck, which is very, very freaky. Like the first time you hold this, the first time you ever play a Strandberg, I think, at least personally, you will be uncomfortable. Just because it is so different from any guitar you've probably ever played. Mm-hmm.
But it only takes a few minutes of playing, honestly, to get really used to it. And after playing this for a few weeks now that I've owned it, I don't really think about it.
Very, very, very playable. If you have listened to Pliny and have seen Pliny and seen him play his shows and like heard him talk about it, literally, he put his hands on this, he was in love, and he can't get his hands off of it. There's so many people, so many popular guitarists that have a Strandberg in one facet or another that are just absolutely in love with this neck. And when I had mine many years ago that looked very similar to this, it was, except for, broken frets.
Yeah,
but
it worked.
It was something that I forgot about literally within the week of getting it, which is very good because, weeks after playing it, I could feel how comfortable it was versus just a standard radius, what would you call this? Back of the neck?
Profile.
Neck profile. Yep. That's what you call it.
That's the word for it. With Per Nilsson's new model that just came out, they actually just changed the EndurNeck just a little bit for his specifications. So it's a little bit thinner and the edge is a little bit more rounded off. And for him, it feels a little more comfortable. I'd love to give that a try one day. If by some miracle I can get my hands on one.
I don't think it should feel that different though. Like this already feels dramatically different. Like if you go from this Strandberg to another Strandberg, I think the little rounded edges could be a little more comfortable for people that have never tried a Strandberg and want something kind of in between.
And it is carbon fiber reinforced. Not traditionally like a lot of other brands where they use carbon fiber rods to reinforce it. They use strips that go down the ply of the neck.
So they go in between the different lengths of wood that they have. So there, I guess there's four individual
strips. Yeah.
I gotta say, after looking at a brand like Vigier and seeing that they have just that honkin'
10% of the neck.
Yeah, like that thing is a big old black stripe that goes right up the neck. And then looking at like these 4 little stripes, I am a little bit disappointed in that. But for a guitar like this, like, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
I think it would be okay. And already putting carbon fiber in her neck is going to do infinitely more than any brand that doesn't have carbon fiber in their neck.
Yeah.
So even though not a Vigier, definitely something that's not going to go out of tune very easily.
So after having the privilege of owning a Vigier, I know those necks are rock solid. And with carbon fiber, the neck will not move. And that is a fact. And I can confirm that. And so at least having some carbon fiber helps a lot. Even though it may not be a full rod like a lot of manufacturers are using now, some is better than none. And with a roasted maple neck as well, it's a pretty stable neck. Since owning it, I haven't had any need to adjust the truss rod. I've got this pull out of the box when I got it. Came from California. I'm currently now living in Maryland, so it went completely across the country.
I
personally really like it.
I appreciate that, like, they took a little different route because I know, like, Aristides and stuff, they kind of have it, like, just dead straight or, like, angled depending on the multiscale.
Depending on the brand.
But, like, this one, they have, like, a nice little swoop,
it's
which
like
is pretty attractive.
Since you can't really have a headstock and you don't really have the option of doing a little headstock design to kind of differentiate your brand or put your logo on there. And at least with this kind of design, it helps the brand stick out a little more. And once you've seen a Strandberg a few times and you see this shape, you'll kind of recognize it immediately, especially with their proprietary tuners as well. You see it and you'll immediately recognize it's a Strandberg, even though it has no logo or headstock.
Except for right there.
Yeah, right there. Now we're back on to the fretboard, which is probably the most interesting part of this guitar, which differentiates from the entire line, because it's the first production model with true temperaments.
That are stainless steel.
Yes, which is huge. So this is Strandberg's first production model guitar with true temperament frets. I'm actually not aware of any other production model guitars that have true temperaments. It might be the first. If you do know of one, comment down. I'd like to know. And what differentiates it as well is it uses stainless steel frets instead of the traditional frets that true temperament uses, were a little softer. And because the guitar is multi-scaled, they tuned it specifically for Strandberg. And so the frets are adjusted perfectly for this scale, as well as the zero fret on this guitar is all squiggly as well, instead of a straight zero fret.
That was very interesting. Seeing that, like being able to get like a little squiggle on the zero fret, just to line up with everything. And that's like the only one that's like really proportional along all the strings. Mm-hmm. Like everything else is kind of like jagged in like seemingly random ways. Mm-hmm. But the benefit of true temperament is kind of in the name. You get every note along the fretboard to kind of sound exactly the way they were intended to sound. Mm-hmm. So when you're fretting down, usually you can fix more jarring issues just with the intonation of a guitar. But with this, every single note, not just the open string, not just at the 12th fret are going to be perfectly in tune, but ideally every single note along the fretboard will be in tune. And I cannot stress enough how amazing that is for when you're playing big chords, weird chords, anything that requires you to be perfectly in tune when you're playing anything, especially chugging along on any of these low strings. Quite amazing.
And the quality of them are really nice. Especially being stainless steel, it's really hard to work with it. So coming out of the factory perfectly is really ideal. And these are absolutely mirror polished. And they are, I would believe, leveled. I wouldn't question it at all.
I would hope leveled.
I would hope level too, because
this is a $3,500 guitar.
We'll get there. It
is an expensive guitar.
Very expensive. Which feature packed, but pricey for Strandberg, especially import models still.
Yeah, this has a fretboard just like any other guitar. Like it's got an ebony fretboard and things like that. But you're really here to see the true temperament.
Yeah, which is definitely why you probably clicked on this video to begin with, because you were like, that guy's guitar is broken. It's missing parts. Its frets are all squiggly.
It's missing chunks. It's got no headstock. It's got weird frets. This is, when you really think about it, this is really just an unusual guitar by every metric.
Yeah.
Like, it was already weird just not having a head, not having parts of its body there. But now they've gone in, screwed up the frets, looking like a broken highway.
The guy was definitely drunk, dude.
Looking like New Jersey turnpikes. And you got this monstrosity, which is probably one of the best playing monstrosities we've ever owned.
Yeah, just pretty impressive.
So everyone we talked to has looked at this and had quite an opinion on it, whether it was positive or negative. It's always been an eye catcher that everyone has just been drawn to and always has something to say about it.
Yeah, because I remember David had told me a story a little ago when he had his Strandberg Bowden OS, and how his friends, that always, the guitar was the eye catcher of all the ones he's had. And this is the exact same story with me. I've had plenty of guitars, a few high-end ones, and of all those, this is the one that, to my roommates and my friends, was the eye catcher. And it's because it is absolutely completely different from everything else I've owned.
Genuinely, like, if you look at a Fender or a Gibson, you'll look at that and be like, that's a guitar. You look at this and you're like,
whoa,
who decided to do this, and why does it cost $10,000 like a piece of artwork that's in the MoMA or something?
Yeah, it's because it's from Cyberpunk.
Yeah. Except it performs a little better than Cyberpunk does.
It's at least finished.
Yeah. It's so fascinating. It's so interesting. I don't know why he spent all the money on this guitar. He just told me that he did, and I was like, well, okay. Kind of makes me want mine back, but we can share it, I guess.
Wait, what? And that kind of brings us to the price of this instrument, which Strandbergs are a little bit premium for an import line. For those features, it's a little justified. It's very unique. The hardware is proprietary. It's a little
Evidently.
extra, but this is a substantial upcharge compared to regular originals Bowden 7.
If you want one that isn't as squiggly with the frets on the fretboard, but just has like a few cute angles to it, then they do have other production models that are made in like Korea and other places around the world.
Indonesia.
Oh wait, are they all made in Indonesia?
Yeah, they only have Indonesia-made ones. They're
Are
all
they-
in the same factory.
I don't know how I feel about that. So you can go for their lower cost models, which will range between 15
About 1,500-ish, give or take, depending on how many strings.
to up to 3,000, which is where
3,500 actually.
Oh, okay.
For this
Okay.
model, which is pretty pricey because going off of memory, the Bowden Original 7 is somewhere around the $2,200 range.
I spent about $2,200 with honestly with taxes, with like a flight case and everything. I think I spent about $2,300 on it, and this comes in a tiny gig bag. Granted, pretty. It has like a nice little Swedish flag on it and stuff, but
it is a substantial upcharge for this guitar, which is a little iffy depending because it's still made in the same exact factory as the other ones in Indonesia, which still they're producing really nice high-end guitars. There's no question about that. They've definitely gotten a lot better over the years, and they will only continue to get better as they make more and more guitars. But at this price range, this is high-end premium guitar range. We're talking custom shop models.
So this is definitely like, you are getting this because you're a serious musician and you know what you're getting. And that's the most important part is you probably know what true Temperament frets are, even though you haven't played them. You probably know what Fishman's are. You know what Strandberg is, obviously, if you ended up on that page. So getting a guitar like this is definitely one of those things that's like, I know what I'm looking for, and I'm willing to spend this kind of money to get it. The intro line, like $1,500 to like $2,500 Strandbergs. Yeah, like those I'd even argue are like, okay, I'm thinking about it because it looks so different. It's basically a work of art. But this is like, you know what you're getting, you know what you want, and so this is what you're gonna get.
And you're willing to pay a pretty premium for it.
You're gonna pay a prestige amount of money. Like, not prestige in the Ibanez sense that costs like $2,000.
Custom money.
Yeah, this is custom shop level. This is like, if you took this money, you could go into almost any custom
Kisa
shop.
build in the 2,000-ish range for a very nice build. If you went with about everything you can throw on it, you would be maybe under this, maybe just about 3,500. And I'm talking about every option Kiesel has.
You could get an Aristides, which is considered like boutique. You could get a Vigier, very, very much considered boutique, especially since they don't sell that many guitars every year.
No.
But they offer the custom shop line, and you could get a 6-string for less than this, and a 7-string for about the same amount.
And that's the one thing with this guitar. It is a pretty expensive guitar for what you're getting.
So why would you get this guitar? If it's a pre-built, it is something that you do not get to say what specs you want on it. It costs about the same as any other guitar that you would get specs that you would want on it. So why this one for the price that it's in?
So why did I buy this? I'm actually wondering that myself sometimes.
I'm wondering that too, you dumb.
Because clearly there's almost any option at this range. Strandberg is a very one of those brands that really sticks out to most guitar players. And this is a model in that range that sticks out even a little bit more. The bigger reasons why I kind of decided to go with this was the true Temperament fret, which is the reason why I ended up getting this specific model. I've heard a few demos, and I kind of wanted to play one for myself. And after actually playing it, I'm like, I really like how this sounds. And I've always been a fan of the Multiscale since he had his Strandberg. And I knew the guitar itself, so I have a pretty good understanding of how it feel and play because I got to play his a few times.
You're paying for novelty, just
Yes.
the look of it. That's already like a part of the upcharge. You're paying for unique feature set. You're paying for true Temperament frets.
Anodized hardware, which is not really available on any other Strandberg model besides True Temperaments and 10th anniversary ones they did, and might be a few others here and there they've done.
You're paying for Fishman's because these pickups, even though they're becoming more common and more accessible guitars and brands like Ibanez, they're still quite the boutique pickups. You're paying for the EndurNeck
Yes.
on this bad boy because it's patented. You can't get it anywhere else.
Can't find it anywhere.
And you're paying for the comfort. You're paying for the ability to play this in as small of a setting as possible. I've played this in the passenger seat of a car. I've played this in this chair, which with my feet literally just as high as possible, as low as possible.
Literally 20 minutes ago.
You can play this essentially anywhere and be comfortable. You can carry this anywhere. In its case and be comfortable.
That is probably the best part about it. It's a very portable guitar. It's comfortable to play anywhere, and especially the ergonomics is what this guitar is focused on with the EndurNeck and the Multiscale. For a lot of players, that really helps them a lot, especially with some players that are starting to have a little bit more problems with their wrist. This kind of, from what I've heard, helps them a lot.
And it does it neck dive? Before I say that, does it neck dive?
Not in this position.
Definitely. Yes, it's going to neck dive in that position.
Not in that position. If I put it on this leg, it does a little, but it's on my right leg. But if I'm playing it, it doesn't neck dive, obviously. But it does neck dive a little on here.
Have you ever put a strap on it?
I actually have not played with a strap on yet. So,
well, that's important.
Judging the fact that I'm pretty sure you don't have the extra weight here, it probably won't neck dive. And you've had yours, and it didn't neck dive.
Yeah, it doesn't neck dive.
I definitely would assume it wouldn't neck dive as well.
Most of the problems with neck diving is not only the imbalances between the wood of the neck and the wood of the body, but the headstock and those tuners. When you got a bunch of them just sitting up here, they just drag the whole thing down.
The whole
on
center of
regular
gravity
headstock.
just shifts over, and you'd be surprised how heavy tuners really are.
So you've got features that you'll probably never find on anything else,
and especially not on a production guitar.
Yeah, like this is so unique in the way that it all comes together to be this work of art that it's something honestly to behold. Like super impressed on every level. This required so much engineering, but none of that matters if it doesn't sound like a guitar that can shred on stage and can play in the studio. So we're gonna get into that playthrough right now. So this was my first time playing with something so lovely. And I've got to say, on every level, I am impressed. On every level, like I said before, just the fact that I can put it anywhere on my body. I don't have a lot of room in this room. So just having a guitar that I can put in any position and still feel comfortable enough to play and track and do what I need to do is beyond a lifesaver. The EndurNeck disappears in my hands, especially since I've played one before. But it will disappear in your hands too with just a little bit amount of play. The Multiscale, you hardly even notice, especially with the True Temperament. The True Temperament is probably going to mess you up more, because I know it did for me. I looked at this, I started playing up here, and I was like, the bent fret confuses me. It's very confusing for like a few minutes. Like the EndurNeck will take longer than to figure out the frets, and the frets detract from the Multiscale entirely. But it is there, and you can see it, and it does make a difference when you're playing it, especially if you like to chug on the low string and shred on the high strings. The neck is a beautiful satin. Like, I can tell that is super high quality. It is much higher quality than the regular Bowden that I had a few years ago. It wasn't the regular Bowden. It was the Bowden OS.
Yeah, the first generation, you can say, of import Strandbergs.
Yeah, and I assume that it's going to be the same way for the Bowden 7, the standard, and all that. This neck, the satin feel is absolutely beautiful. Like, the only time I've ever felt this was on other similarly priced guitars and bass. Dingwall does have a bass that kind of feels like this. Vigier feels very much like this. When it comes to feel, this thing literally just disappears into your hands, especially like the lack of fatigue from holding this on your leg or just holding up with your hand if you experience neck dive. It is such a wonderful experience. Now, when it comes to the sound, there's two parts to this. The Fishmans, beautiful. We already knew Fishmans are beautiful. Yeah. They're known for their pickups. They're known for their moderns. They're known for their Abasi pickups. They're not known for their Stephen Carpenter pickups. Sorry if people like those pickups. Not a big fan. But the pickups sound amazing. But it doesn't matter if the pickups sound amazing if you can't make it sound amazing with something like True Temperament. Now, where True Temperament comes into play, as you heard from the playthrough, the chords ring out impeccably. Like, I really have no words for it. The chords ring out in such a way that feels so clean. Everything about this is just absolutely impressive. This comes from someone who has played a Vigier, which is what I would still consider a Vigier over this for a few things. Just like a lot of their key features really just get to me. But this is honestly probably second to that. And it's very close. It is a very close race between the two. I gotta say, I was not expecting the change from True Temperament just from playing a few chords. It was noticeable. Holds its tune beautifully, even when you're chugging, even when you're bending. Doesn't matter what you're doing. And it feels great. It sounds great. It will get the job done, especially as a studio guitar. If you want this as a studio guitar, it can be your studio guitar. If you want it to be your on-stage guitar, it will be your on-stage guitar. It doesn't matter. I think this is capable of anything, and I think anyone who's like on the verge of getting it. If you're familiar with a multiscale, you'll be fine. If you're okay with multiscale, you'll most likely be okay with this.
And I personally think Strandberg's multiscale is the most comfortable that I've played. And I think because Strandberg's neutral fret sits at a different fret, and also because the longer scale is just a little bit shorter, it feels comfortable, at least to my hand. It might feel different to your hand. Everyone's a little different.
This neck is just beautiful. This body is beautiful. The only things that would, and understandably so, turn people off to this guitar are the body shape, the lack of a headstock, and then the multiscale. If you can get past all of those parts of this guitar, everything else just falls into place. Mm-hmm. You will not be bothered by anything, and if you are, it'll be to such a minimal degree that it'll disappear within a few minutes, up to a week of play. If you don't like the Fishmans, don't get this guitar. If you don't want to risk the true temperament, that's up to you, but we don't think it's a problem.
No.
If you don't want to risk the multiscale, understandable. If you feel like you're going to get mocked or laughed at for this, because I know I have, but I don't care. This thing is such a machine.
And then I hear it.
I'd be okay with a lower end model of this. But this does outperform the other Bowden.
If you guys want to hear more of this guitar, maybe compared to other 7-strings we may or may not have.
Compared to other boutique 7-strings that we may or may not have.
Other 7-strings with multi-scales.
Other strings with guitars. If you just want an in-depth comparison between like a budget model, high-end model, like we don't have a custom shop model of anything, sadly. But if you want some comparisons between some other gear that we do have, then keep liking, keep following, keep subscribing, and please leave a comment down below. Let us know what you want to see, how you want us to experiment. We can look at every little detail of this guitar if you want us to, like we did in our last video.
Yeah, we could do a follow-up video if you guys have any questions.
So now your final thoughts, because you own the guitar and you had to spend lots of money.
The big boy monies for this thing. So I already knew what I was getting into, and the reason why I spent the money on this is because this is different than anything else I owned. And so there were a lot of things that I did want on a new guitar, especially because I didn't want to get another guitar that's almost identical to anything else I already owned. And especially when there's a lot of cool brands out there. And so that's why I kind of really decided to go with this. It was really unique, and there's a lot of pluses to this. I'm still pretty happy with this purchase. The frets on this feel amazing. The fretwork is phenomenal. Obviously, Strandberg builds pretty high-end stuff. And even though they're import, they're still sent over, at least in the US, they're sent over to California. They're inspected, set up. So you have that extra layer of security knowing that you're going to get a good guitar. And Strandberg does have a pretty nice return policy. They give you about 2 weeks to get the guitar, play it, see if you like it. They understand that it's a little different. It's very unique compared to anything else out there. So they want you to make sure that you actually do enjoy the guitar. And if you didn't, you can always send it back. There's no questions, which I think is pretty nice. Mm-hmm. Especially like for something like this, when it's even the other models, it's still a lot of money. You're spending any kind of money over $1,000. It's a lot of money, regardless of what you're buying. The build quality is amazing. It sounds amazing. I personally love playing this a lot. And it does have some stuff that I really like a zero fret. After having a VGA, I've become a big fan of zero fret.
So if you have any weird questions, like if you have any questions about the true temperament, if you have any questions about the EndurNeck that haven't been answered in this video, anything at all about this, you can hit us up on Instagram, you can hit us up on Twitter, you can find me on Twitch if I'm live, 7 p.m. Monday through Thursday.
Check his things out.
You can check me out on Twitch or YouTube. You can hit us up in any of those regards. Anywhere. You can leave a comment, and we will address them in a follow-up video, because I imagine there's a lot of things to learn about this.
Obviously, it's really unique guitar. I'm sure a lot of you have questions, so feel free to send us a message on Instagram, anywhere, and I'll definitely get back to you. And literally anything you want to know, because it's pretty different from everything else out there.
And remember to stay tuned, because we will have more demos. We will have more comparisons, as long as we got people here watching to support us and to, demo these kind of beautiful instruments. Yeah. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
See you guys.